Well, gentlemen, we will see you in St. Louis on Sunday. We are so excited to have Pointfest back and to have you guys be a part of it. But I want to kind of talk about this from a couple of different angles, all right? First and foremost, the crew that you have working with you in the Seether camp, I'm sure is scaled down because of, the craziness that is the pandemic. But can you talk about like sort of what the crew is doing now, added responsibility that they weren't doing before to keep you guys safe for all these shows, just so you can play them?
Go ahead, Johnny.
Actually, for us, our little world, obviously, venues will have different rules, mask mandates backstage. Our crew, we still have a full crew. We have our regular setup, our techs and front of house. So it's such a healthy thing and a great thing to be playing shows again, man. This time last year, we never, we didn't know what was going to happen. And here we are doing shows again. And the first one was almost like a spiritual experience. It was a show in Ohio. And it was just so great to be on stage, playing music, being a band and doing what we do, man. I missed it so much. So
yeah,
it's a great thing.
I've talked to a couple of folks, like myself, that are in the industry, and we're very lucky to be able to go to a lot of shows, but sometimes, unfortunately, in the job, sometimes there's burnout that creeps in, even for going to concerts. And I guess it was a couple of months into the pandemic, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this without more live music, because it had been the longest that I'd been since I was like 15, since I had been to a show. And when I finally got back to a show, oh God, that, like just everything about it. I had a beer in the hand. It was loud. There was thousands. It was just so great. But I would assume a pretty almost emotional experience for you guys getting back after it.
Oh, it's totally emotional. I mean, like Johnny was saying, the first show back, it was truly to see everyone's faces, stuff like that. I mean, it had been what, Johnny, because we took a little time off even beforehand to do a record. Yeah. So for us, so it was this long break.
2018.
Yeah. So it was like, but there again, for us also, we have families. We've been touring for our whole lives, 200-300 days out of the year. So for us to get to know our families, my wife, my daughter, just staying with Johnny and his wife and boys, Shaun, and, it was, that part of it was the best, because you built back that relationship that, hey, Daddy is here for, and I'm here as a husband for a long time. But then they were ready for us to get back out, they're like, okay, so let's be honest with it a little bit. And, it's like, okay, it's time to, pandemic's kind of, coming to an end, So, but when we first got back, the first time we got back together as a band probably was Bruised and Bloodied after the record to shoot the video. And for us four to get in the room together, it was incredible. Just, we were like kids, like, dude, this is what you look like. I grew my hair long. I didn't have a beard. It takes me like 2 years to grow a beard. It looks like chemotherapy. So I needed the extra time. So, and we all got into some new things and did some of the things that we actually love. So, but the first show back, watching the crowd and everyone's faces, and without, this thing, that crazy thing. And everybody's being careful, and everybody's just, you got to have that release from a live show is super important.
I didn't realize, I think, how important that was for me to have that thing weekly, bi-weekly, whenever the heck that it was. But I'll tell you what, I bet you there are a few things on the road as stressful as a parent pickup line at any elementary or middle school in this country of ours. It's man, you talk about some Lord of the Flies type stuff going on there, man. It's my least favorite thing to do, and I love my kiddos so much, but I always want to fight those other parents.
Completely. And the virtual thing was tough too. I've got one son, he's in high school, and man, it was tough. That he likes going to school, he loves seeing his friends, and having to sort of focus on schoolwork at home, and do homework and get it done. It wasn't always the greatest situation, but they're back in school again, so that's good.
I want to
Shaun and Dell are trying to join in, I think.
Oh, are they? Oh, hold on here. I got the admit all button here. Sorry, I get to talking and I don't shut up. I don't realize all of the other things, including other members of your band that are trying to join our conversation. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to make you wait so long. How's it going, guys? I got everybody. This is great. One thing that I want to point out is you guys are getting yourselves square. You on October the 15th, you're going to be releasing a big package talking about the 2 decades and all of the hits that you have had over the course of your unbelievable career. As you guys sit back and put this thing together over the course of, however long it's been that you've been working on it, can you kind of talk about just what you are thinking as you're going through these songs, as you're thinking about all these years have passed and all of these hits and all of these fans? I just can't imagine from your shoes what that feels like and how you reflect on that a bit. I think you're muted over there, Shaun. There you go.
Shaun, you're muted. Shaun,
you're muted.
You're muted.
Whatever.
There we go.
There you are.
I mean, it's lasted a lot longer than we thought it would, man. It's crazy to think it's been 20 years since we came over from South Africa and got in a limo in New York City and kind of lived in Times Square for a few weeks till we moved to LA and did an album. And the chances for that failing are so great that it's crazy to think that here we are 20 years later still doing it, and it's going strong. It's been a long ride. It's been an interesting ride. It's been a crazy ride. But I think that we as a band collectively feel really good right now. I think better than we've ever felt, and I think certainly musically we've kind of hit a stride that I'm very happy with, and that fans seem to be responding to really well. And so this was just a look at what we've done in the past 20 years, and there was a greatest hits quote unquote album a few years back. I think at this point probably 5 or 6 years ago, which I never really was into. I just kind of felt like it was a cash grab from a floundering label, and so never really gave too much of a thought about it. But this one is more carefully curated to really sort of show the highlights of what we've done. Any song that's ever been on the radio, certainly all the number ones we've had and the top 5s, and just really kind of looking back and saying, for some people who don't know, these are all the songs we've done. You know what I mean? Sometimes there's a disconnect with people, but they'll know one song, but they won't know another couple songs. So this is just kind of just putting it all in one place and saying, yep, this is what we've done. And I'm pretty proud of it, man.
Do you know, I looked at the track listing for that record, and we have played every single one of those songs. And it's very few times that it's an entire greatest hits where we will have, or not greatest hits, but a big, career spanning package where we have played every song. We have played every single song. And on top of that, we just moved Wasteland up to Power.
Awesome. Thank you.
And
Nice.
so
Thank you.
You guys are like our, you guys are like our St. Louis hit machine, like for real. So it's really great to have you guys back and shine down the same. You guys just really are consistently delivering for our listeners. And that is fans, man, we really appreciate it. And then also too, I just love watching you guys, because with so many great songs, inevitably you're going to be leaving something off that's going to tease somebody off. But I just love, how it's a little different every time. And I think putting that set list together would have to be a bear at this particular point in your career.
Yeah, it's been weird because we've been out with 3 Doors Down for the most part of the summer, and we get an hour to play that set, and that means we get to play about 12 songs if we don't screw around in between. And I don't really say much, so we try and get to the songs. And then with the show tonight we have 55, so we cut it down to 11, and so that means even on the Vicennial album there's 9 songs we're not going to be touching. So it's a difficult choice. We sort of tend to lean towards which are the fan favorites, especially after this whole big lockdown. We figured let's just come out and play songs people want us to play, what they want to hear the most. So in that sense, it's pretty easy to pick out the songs that get the better reactions. But it's still difficult because there's definitely songs that we wish we could be playing that are sort of not singles from the new album. But I think that, you know, we honestly, the philosophy of the band is we serve the fans, right? So if we could come out and play an entire set of songs that never made it to radio and never were singles and were maybe even B-sides, but that wouldn't make anybody happy except for us, and we would look like, you know, idiots. So we understand that people have paid money to see us play songs that they want us to play. I mean, I remember there was a concert in South Africa years ago, and I think it was somebody like Elton John who came and didn't play a single hit that anybody knew. He played for 2 hours, didn't play a single song anybody knew. And the same went, I think, for Billy Joel, and I think even Lenny Kravitz. Like I think he did like a 45-minute guitar solo. It was like rehearsal, right? So, and I didn't have money to go to those shows, but I knew people that did, and they all came back disappointed because they're like, well, I want to hear these hits. I want to hear the songs that I've paid money to go and see, and the reason why I'm a fan. And then you get treated like, you know, you're just a rehearsal audience. And you know, I don't know what their motivation was behind that, but for us, certainly it doesn't serve any purpose to come out and say, okay, we're going to play songs that we really badly want to play on the new album, for example, that you haven't heard perhaps, or you know, or we can say, hey, you know what, thank you guys for being here. These are the songs we know you love to hear. So that's how we'll pick the set tonight. That's pretty much how we do it every day.
Very good. So how are you guys? So you are back out on the road, but you're obviously having to be incredibly careful with yourselves so that you can stay healthy and stay out on the road. So it's almost like you get out of quarantine, you get back amongst the living a little bit, and now you're not in quarantine, but sort of kind of. What are you dudes doing to keep yourselves sane? As I can tell, you're all in different hotel rooms. I mean, like I just came back from hernia surgery 2 days ago. And only for a week, and only for a week and a half, I am so tired of sitting on my couch watching TV. I don't know what to do with myself. So, like, what are you dudes doing? What are you doing to keep yourself sane until showtime? I'd be eating a lot, like just too much.
I play video games, man. I just get on. I either do that, or if I find something to read, I might do that instead. But I just sort of lose myself in mindless entertainment, because often you say there's nothing to do. You're right. There's like, we'll get into a venue and we'll walk up in the dressing room, and it's 10 hours till showtime, and there's nothing to do. I mean, really, there's so that can be kind of yeah, it sort of eats away at you a little bit, because there's certainly for me, those kinds of moments really grind me, because I know I could be with my kid, you know what I mean? It's like I could be hanging out with my kid, my wife, and so it's like this, because for most of the week we do that, Monday through Wednesday or Monday through Thursday we home, then Friday, Saturday, Sunday we playing, and then so it's kind of this balancing act. But so in order to just sort of maintain a neutral outlook on it all, I just try and shut my brain down for as much as I can, because you know, you check in with home and do all those kinds of things, but for the most part, it's just really, what can you do to take your mind off of things? And we all have different ways of doing that. You know, Dale will most days find himself a local fishing spot, and he'll just go out there for a few hours and get burnt and eaten by mosquitoes. He's got some weird kink. But you know, it's you know, and then Corey works on the live recordings that we make every night. So every single set gets recorded, and Corey will sit and work on those, and he'll remove the noise and sort of try and streamline them, so that we have all of this. So far this entire summer, we've had every single show has been recorded. So we have quite a large volume of live music now that we could do with something with in the future. Yeah, and again, each one of us just sort of finds our own pocket to exist in and sort of deal with it. Because if you didn't have something to do, you literally would lose your mind from boredom, because there's only so much Netflix you can watch. There's only so much anything you can do day in and day out without losing your mind. But that's kind of been my coping mechanism at this point. You know,
I don't know about you fellas, but I think I realized over the course of the pandemic that I like my kids more than any other people on the planet. So like, and I knew that beforehand, but I just love hanging out with them. So like now, when it's the choice of hanging out with them or doing something else, the hanging out with them part always seems like the better, like the better option of the two, even when the other option is really stinking awesome. And so, you know, like, but at the same time, it's I just can't wait for us to full on get back out into the world again and start like doing things, because it seems like we've had a couple of abbreviated summers. I've done a minimal cannonballs the last couple summers, and I don't like that at all.
I think you touched on a pretty big point there. That there's an existential crisis, sort of, if you think about it, where you go, all right, so I was told I was useless and worthless for well over a year and a half. I'm allowed to go out and dabble again in what I used to do for a living. But come the fall into the winter, that's going to all shut down again for the most part. So it's like this tease, right? But I also spent so much time, my kid went from 2 to 4 while I was at home. So in all of that time, I keep saying housebroke, but we potty trained her. But she goes from a little kid that sort of babbles to now she's this really interesting, funny little girl. And my wife and I, we've spent many hours just sitting on the couch talking, and so slowly that's because we were a band that was never home for much longer than a year at a time, if that. Then and a year would be excessive for us. I mean, normally it would be something between 6 to 9 months, and we're back out doing it. So then you give us 2.5 years to be home, and it's like, I think I kind of like this a little bit more than being on a bus, not having a shower, sleeping on a crappy bed. I kind of like this a little bit more. So it's trying to, it's the great thing is that we still love to do what we do, but for me, certainly other things have become more of a priority. And like you said, my kid now that she's 4, she's like, it's changed because now she's really into me, and she really like wants to hang out with me all the time. And so when I leave now, it's a big thing. It's a dramatic event. She's crying, and sometimes she doesn't want to talk to me on the phone because she doesn't want to think about me not being there. So it's a whole different experience. Like when she was a baby, or when I didn't have a kid, it was easy to say, hey, I'll be back in a couple of weeks or a couple of months or whatever, because it wasn't quite so emotionally draining. But now that you've spent all this quality time and you've really sort of, honed down your parenting skills to a point where this kid loves you, and everyone knows that they are loved and taken care of and safe, it becomes a difficult thing to do every day. And not to mention that flying is no fun. I mean, everybody knows who's been on a plane in the past few months. It's like, so we fly almost, I think twice a week now, and that, so then there's that on top of it. So there's all this discomfort and the suffering, but the cherry on top of all of that is the playing of the show. So for an hour a day, life is amazing, right? Because you're playing a show and you're doing what you love and you're doing what you're good at. And then it goes back into, oh, cool bus. And then we're gonna drive 10 hours to this show, and then we're gonna sit for 10 hours until the next show. And then then after 3 of these, we'll fly home or drive home. So it's interesting because I think certainly touring the way we used to tour is a younger man's game. And none of us are spring chickens anymore. So we've tried to look at it to see how can we tour smarter, and so that we can tour for longer. So anyway, suffice to say that at the end of the day, when this tour runs, when we run the course of this tour in the middle to end of October, then we're done for the year. And then nobody knows what next year looks like yet. So there's still this uncertainty. I guess I'm grateful that we got to do something in the summertime that was productive. But I will say I am looking forward to going back home and just being a dad and a husband.
Well, we are so looking forward to seeing you on Sunday. It is Shinedown. It's you fellas. It's Bad Flower. It's Grandson. And we are going to have ourselves a time. And I just thank you guys for getting together with me today and chatting and everything. And I'm so glad you guys are playing the show. And it's just really great to catch up with you as it always is. And, next time through, we'll get together in person and say hello and do it all. But I just as the music director of the radio station, again, I just thank you guys for being what you are, and that's a really, really fantastic rock band that's helping our station a lot. So thanks, you, man. And we can't wait to see the support, man.
Yeah. Thank you for the support.
Very much.
Yeah.
No problem, fellas. You take care, and if you need anything on Sunday, I'll be at Pointfest. You just let me know. All right.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Right on.
All right, guys.
Thanks,
Take care.
man.